So, don't know what part this is, but this would be the 1 month training with Naruto. Since Naruto is still Naruto, but the Nine Tails at the same time, he would still have the guardian known as Jiraiya, the Pervy Sage, the teacher of the savior of the world, with blue eyes and yellow hair. But yeah. So, he would have... It would be about the same with Kakashi not wanting to train Naruto. Reason why he doesn't want to train Naruto, he knows about the Sharingan, but since Naruto's already so strong, if he would have taught him the Chidori, he would have got it too easily probably, and it would be too powerful in the hands of Naruto right now. But finding Jiraiya in the same circumstance, Jiraiya would do the whole thing, but Naruto could sense him, and he would just keep on coming near him, and eventually he would be able to grab him. So the training would consist of Naruto's summoning training, but whenever Jiraiya gives him the summoning thing, Naruto would of course try to summon something. This is not him really trying, but he would summon Jiraiya already knowing about the Nine Tails reincarnating thing. He would tell him not to push too much chakra in, or he doesn't summon the giant toad. Naruto would take this literally, and he would summon the rider toad that Jiraiya uses. He would say, "Good. Now let's see if you can actually summon Gamabunta," taking him too far away from any people. And he would do this. And whenever he does this, he would be in the water area. And he would be summoned with Gamabunta saying what you brought and all that, and he would give the test. But whenever they do the test, Naruto would say something different. He'd say, "If I'm able to keep you down for an hour, then I win." Of course, he would agree, saying no brat can do that. This is whenever Naruto would have pushed out a whole bunch of chakra from his body, which is feelable now in the air. And it would have a sort of rotating energy around his fist, which Naruto has used in the past, but not to this extent. It would have circles appear around it, and Naruto would push down with its energy, slamming him into the ground even though he's a giant toad. And this would cause the water around them to instantly go in reverse, pretty much. Like the waterfall will, instead of going down, would go upwards from the force that's emanating from Naruto. And this would come up with Naruto's stats newfound ability known as what would it be called? It would be like store and rotate. These are simple chakra manipulation jutsus. You rotate his chakra and he stores it into his fist, making it way stronger. And all that. It's just I played it off like I was still here, but I had to do something. So what was I on? Oh yeah, summoning toad. So yeah, it would be like a store circular punch, and yeah, spin and store. So he would do this, and he would just kind of be forcing a whole bunch of chakra, and Gamabunta would say, "Enough, kid, enough," and Naruto would let go. He says, "You win," and all that. So we'll get along. And I'll say Jiraiya would tell him about the toad oil and stuff, saying that mixed with a powerful fire style jutsu, it can be very useful. In which, if you guys never played Baruto thing, I'm not sure, you guys might have other opinions, but I know one of the most strongest ranged jutsus on it is Madara's fireball jutsu. It's you know, the big one. It does quite a bit of damage for not being a special to me. Like, I know special can do like almost the whole health, but this one can do almost half the bar, so that's pretty OP to me. So Naruto would learn that jutsu, of course, but but Naruto, this would just be a majestic destroyer jutsu. Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, that's what he learns. So yeah. So after this, learning all this, he would test it out, of course, with the toad oil, which would multiply its strength by a lot, and it would completely evaporate the area of any water and burn it mostly. With all the burnt land, Naruto would put his hand in the ground, seeping his chakra into it, kind of healing it, and then he would raise his hand saying bamboo, creating bamboo trees, clearing it out where the waterfall was, using a water jutsu, putting it everywhere, flowing throughout the trees, I'll say. He creates, using earth to create streams from the water, and a big waterfall area, and all that. It would be squiggly lines, then a circle around the waterfall, and then a tower of pillars of rock would come up. And if anybody's seen this from the sky, they would know what it is. This is a gigantic symbol. A symbol that Naruto was shown by Jiraiya to make. This is pretty much a big Flying Rising symbol. But of course Naruto doesn't know Flying Rising. But this would be used in the future for future events to come. But this is where Naruto would do this, and the next training we do is to Naruto to focus that ability that he learned, rotate and store. With Jiraiya being interested in rotate because rotate seemed to be really powerful, and he wonders how else he can use it in store. So Naruto is instructed to practice this move over and over. What he's practically doing is storing it in his punches, and he would switch it throughout his body, and he would punch with it. So he'll store it in his left hand and get ready to punch with his right hand, and he would send the energy through it, creating the shockwave. So after a while of doing this, towards the waterfall, which would eventually dig out a hole behind it, there's a bunch of rock and all that, it would kind of span the waterfall a lot. But, oh yeah, if you're wondering where all this water's coming from, Naruto kind of made like a hot spring, sort of, you can say. Because he has like water jets inside the rock above that's shooting the water through it. but he would do this quite a bit. And after a while, he would be putting so much energy that he's just kind of just stopped noticing what it's doing. And he's just doing more rotation, more storing. Eventually, he would get to a point that he doesn't know that he's not storing energy in his fist. He's actually storing energy outside his fist. But as soon as he throws this punch, it would cause a big rotation of energy to obliterate the area, the waterfall and all. Of course, he would reform it, because he can do that, and fix it, and he would change it a little bit, and he would have created a whole tower with water coming from every side, and the symbol on it, where it looks kind of cooler. And he would see this happen, and Dry would feel the peak of energy. He would go over there, and he'd see as Naruto's fixing the area and changing it. He'd ask what happened. Naruto would say, "I don't know." So he would show him. He would show Jiraiya, and he would store energy and all that. But instead of storing energy and in his fist, he would store it outside of it. And what he's focusing on is his middle of his knuckle, and between the knuckles where he's focusing the energy. And he would see energy appear from it, or purple energy, being covered around even more of it. Eventually, big as his fist. And Naruto would say, "This is not as big as it was, but this should do." And he would have punched, and they're on top of the rock, of course. And this punch would get big as a normal sized person, 6'2" or something, I guess, 6'2" feet long and wide and all that. And whenever he sees this, he'll tell him to focus the energy in his palm this time, to use it as sort of a melee weapon instead of like a one-shot close range shot where he can carry it. He'd say sure, and he would tell him to kind of not use the red chakra, and he would do this, and this would form the Rasengan, which would come up as Rasengan. Any named jutsus that are already been used by somebody would automatically be named it. And he would say, "So, why is it called the Rasengan?" Hearing this, he would say, "How do you know about this?" Naruto would have to explain to him that he has some kind of ability, not exactly like ability to, like somebody's talking to him, pretty much telling him what it is, he would say. And he would say okay, and all that. He would explain where this Rasengan came from, and all that. So Naruto would be okay, and he would say, "So, what is that big move called, with the word coming up on it, called Biju Bomb Rasengan?" Which Naruto would say out loud. And whenever he is this, I'd say, "So you use like the Biju's power to turn into a Rasengan?" He'd say, "I guess so," and all that. So this is where I leave it off. This was just kind of his training. And Rasengan, a new technique, a redefined technique in the Rasengan. I think that's pretty good. And the new fireball jutsu. Or new fire jutsu. So yeah, this is where I leave it off. Hope you guys like this.